All right, this is my second video essay on digital assets, digital markets, and kind of how I believe that they're going to be incorporated into democracy as we know it. What we've been seeing now, at least for the past 3 to 4 months, is complete adoption worldwide of cryptocurrencies, especially the main ones such as Bitcoin, XRP, even ADA, and coins like Tron have been getting a lot of attention just due to the fact that these new currencies are being adopted globally. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And what people don't understand is the digital landscape itself is its own market, right? We classify the physical realm as its own market. We classify space as its own market. We classify utilities as its own market. We even classify companies as their own market. So when you approach investing in digital assets, it's not so much taking a risk on a singular concept, but the whole market, you know? So if you invest in the market cap of cryptocurrencies, the crypto market, you would have seen at least a 100x gain because it went from absolutely nothing to what we see now at about $4 trillion, which is exponential. And you know, especially with new technologies such as AI coming out, it just makes sense that they would digitalize assets that we see near and dear in our physical realm, like gold. Gold itself has a small value relative to its utility. You know, the value of gold isn't based off of what it can do, but its scarcity and the fact that people want it because it's one of the most traded assets in the world. And the movement that we've been seeing behind cryptocurrency has been greater. And that's not uncommon. Look at Apple technology, right? Apple phones went from essentially nothing, pretty much a worthless asset, depreciating asset that's just used for communication, to a global conglomerate that pretty much controls our own government. Which is crazy to say, but that's just what happens when technology comes out. I mean, look at big companies like Hershey and Coca-Cola, right? They took over a market that pretty much didn't exist, like the junk food industry. You know, back then, a lot of the focus of humanity was to stay healthy, to live long lives. And, you know, big companies kind of just took that over. And it's not honestly what's best for the world, but it's catching on to what's happening with the world. Do I believe that cryptocurrency is going to save the economic system? No, in fact, I think it's going to hurt retail investors more than anyone, just due to the fact that the government's going to be able to track every single transaction through a ledger, especially if it's a stablecoin ledger, right? That just gives the stablecoin companies all of this power, all of this data that we might want to keep personal. Me, myself, I'm not happy about the fact that it's possible for the US government, if cryptocurrency is integrated into our economic system. I don't like the fact that the government might be able to watch all my transactions, because if something does happen, or who knows, if the government decides to lie about my actions, they could make up transactions. So I don't personally believe it's a good thing, but I do believe that that's the direction that the world is heading, because we've seen this throughout the past. What is the one thing that world leaders want more than anything? Power and control. And cryptocurrency gives them that avenue directly without any opposition. Because retail investors love cryptocurrency because the price goes up. I mean, look at cell phones, for example. Apple iPhones are honestly one of the most unsecure technologies that you can own when it comes to cellular devices, because Apple sells your data to every third party that asks for it who has enough money, but we choose to use it as a society because that's what's being marketed. And I've been seeing Bitcoin being marketed so heavily, and even coins like XRP and stuff. It's the next step in digitalizing our assets, and I think it's going to be incorporated heavily. Now, do I think that there's room for more than one digital asset? Yes. Do I know which digital assets are going to be chosen in this new economic system? No. But what I do know is that there needs to be a digital asset, a digital security, a digital utility, and a stablecoin asset, right? A digital currency, like a stablecoin. I believe I have my thoughts. I have my theories on what coins are going to fill these positions and what coins are best made to fill these positions. But at the end of the day, you have to do your own research and you have to find out which technologies best fit your outlook, right? Because everybody has a different outlook politically, economically, socially, but all of us have a general idea of the direction that it's going. Like, you know, a lot of people picked BlackBerry over iPhone back in the tech boom in the 2000s, but it ended up being Apple. Does that mean that BlackBerry investors should shy away from Apple since they missed it? No. That just means that they have to drop their investments and call it a loss and start with something new. So let's say Bitcoin does fall off the map, right? Is that going to shy me away from investing? No, that's just going to drive me to find another asset that's appreciating more. So I wouldn't be afraid. You know, I love this approach that a lot of investors have, where they say people are just smart enough to be afraid. And I think that's beautiful because so many people know everything there is about cryptocurrency, but they only focus on the negatives. They study, but they don't interpret and they don't make predictions based off the information that was given to them. They just understand what can go wrong, which is a good thing, right? Because a lot of things can go wrong, and it's nice to have awareness on how they will happen and when they will happen. But at the end of the day, if that's shying you away from building a portfolio, then you shouldn't be working. You shouldn't be trying to earn cash, because at the end of the day, you're just getting scammed by the government. So if I had any piece of advice, it would to be invest. Me, myself, I love Bitcoin. I'm a Bitcoin maxi. I believe it's going to be the best asset to invest in from this point till when I give my assets to my kids. Is that going to be true? No. If Bitcoin goes up 10% each year, that's fine by me. That's honestly not, I mean, it's not terrible, but relative to other asset managers, that's awful, right? I'm pretty sure BlackRock is getting at least a 15% gain annually, and they don't even take risks. So at the end of the day, don't be smart enough to be afraid. If I had any piece of advice, and I would do some research, you know. I was talking about digital securities earlier. What even is a digital security? It's a way for big asset managers and big corporations to tokenize what they have. I mean, they could tokenize themselves, not necessarily something physical, but something organic. I mean, you could tokenize anything if you want to. It's just about marketing and implementation. And I think a lot of the future is going to be built on stable coins, which I believe will be pegged to the US dollar, because clearly the US dollar has been the number one asset to have for day-to-day transactions globally. I don't think that's going to change. If it does, fine. That just means stablecoins will be pegged to something else. But I don't believe the United States is going to let that happen. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. And why is that important? Well, governments are gonna be able to create money without using money. You know, I was hearing a statistic about the penny the other day on how it costs 3 cents for every 1 cent that we make, which is ludicrous. I mean, that's not a healthy economic system, and stablecoins kind of take that away. It's free to make. Does it give power to stablecoin corporations? Yes, but I mean, the US dollar gives powers to all these mints, right? It takes power away from retail investors. So at the end of the day, no system's going to be beneficial for the people as long as the US government has the power to create fiat currency. That's just the sad reality of it. And they force us as consumers to make risk-based decisions that keep us drawn on one thing. And what's that one thing? To keep making money, because they want us to work. Because if we wouldn't be a working class, they wouldn't be able to sell anything, right? I work at In-N-Out Burger. If they weren't paying, we wouldn't work, and they wouldn't have people to sell their items. So that's the system that I believe that they created, and those are the intentions behind the system. Is that true? No, that's also just speculation. But again, you have to just understand why things are going on around you, what's going on around you, and at the end of the day, how you yourself are going to be able to survive. in a world where everyone's trying to take. And I think Bitcoin's a great investment. I think XRP is going to be that digital security that's going to be able to tokenize the stock market. Stablecoins obviously aren't a good investment, but I do think they're going to play a big role in the economy. And for digital utility, I think Ethereum is going to play a huge role. I mean, the smart contract potential there is massive. And I think that it's going to be almost more necessary than a lot of these other technologies. But again, who knows? We're in a weird place in cryptocurrency where everything's kind of stabilizing and there's a lot of opportunity. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if XRP became the second biggest global asset in the world. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's just about making educated decisions and just making a decision and not being afraid. So take it as free education. I plan on making a lot more video essays. You know, right now we're at a weird point in cryptocurrency where we're just kind of waiting for things to happen. We don't know exactly what's going on, but it's fun to speculate. I mean, this is when we get to speculate before all the stuff happens, and I think it's gonna be a beautiful thing for our economic system. Even though it might hurt a lot of retail consumers, but you know, what doesn't do that, right? So we'll just we'll have to see what happens and take it day by day. You know, Bitcoin to 250,000 next. That's my prediction. If you want some price predictions, I believe Bitcoin's next kind of stop loss gain will be at about 250,000, which is 150% gain about from where it's at now, which is nothing. I mean, it could go up way further, but we'll have to see.